Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Zen Lounge. I'm here with a legend. His name is Craig Dewitt. He is the co-founder of Super Mojo. He also was a product manager at Ripple. He is a legend in the space, and we're going to be learning a lot from him. First, I'm going to let him give a quick introduction and backstory, and we'll get started.
Wow. Well, thank you for the legendary status. About me, I've been in the Bay Area a long time. Went to UC Berkeley. From there, got involved in financial technology, primarily to solve some of the problems that I saw during the financial crisis in 2008. When I was at Bloomberg, first time I heard about Bitcoin. Then I went to Stanford University to try to learn more about disruptive technologies, where I met Chris Larson, the founder of Ripple, in 2014. And joined early on the product team in 2015. Started RippleNet there, which later became and grew into this amazing thing that now has features like ODL as part of it, powering tens of billions of dollars. Quite a ride over the last 7 years I was there. Met my co-founder there, Amir Sarhangi, and left to do the same thing with NFTs. That's where I am now, Supermojo.
Sweet, man. So I definitely have a lot of, XRP related questions, Ripple related questions for you. A lot
Yeah.
of people love to hear these stories from you, but I really want to first start with Super Mojo. So what is the vision here and what are you guys aiming to accomplish with Super Mojo?
The vision of Supermojo is to unlock the magic of NFTs for everybody. And NFTs, I think, are sometimes looked down upon because they're seen as just JPEGs. But NFTs are fundamentally a brand new capability for people who are living digital lives. And that is, you, for the first time, have digital property rights. It's the same concepts that powered Bitcoin or Ethereum or XRP, but now exposed to a variety of assets beyond just cryptocurrencies that are native to that chain. And so, what I saw happen in 2015 to 2017 is cryptocurrency got big because it got easier to access through companies like Coinbase or through companies for institutional banks like Ripple. And Supermojo is doing the same thing for NFTs. Make it super easy for people to buy, make it super easy for people to hold. And most importantly, we make it super easy for people to use, because that's really where the magic of these things are, is the utility that can be embedded within these on-chain assets. And so you put those things together, you have essentially a new on-ramp for folks who, institutions or individuals, who want to leverage NFTs in any part of their lives.
Sweet, man. So I'm a big NFT collector myself. I've even launched my own NFT collections on the XRP ledger. So when I was reading your documents and I was looking into the project, it appears that Super Mojo is going to make it as easy as purchasing almost anything on an NFT. Like you use a debit card, you could even use a credit card to purchase NFTs. Like how is that all going to how is that all going to look?
Yeah. So, first off, for the folks who might not be as familiar with NFTs, what does it take to actually acquire an NFT today? Well, step one, you've got to have a project that you can trust. Step two, you've got to have an existing wallet that holds your cryptocurrency. Step three, you've got to have that cryptocurrency. And step four, you've got to be comfortable connecting that wallet and trying to enter into essentially a DEX transaction to acquire that NFT or to mint it. Possible to lose substantial amounts of money at every single one of those steps, right? And then when you actually have the NFT, all the things that can go wrong to lose it. The problem today is the 10 steps that it takes to do all those things, not including all the steps to acquire cryptocurrency, is not accessible to 99% of the world. It's not even accessible to 99% of like folks who are in crypto right now, right? And so what Supermojo does is we make it really easy for issuers, creators, or brands to issue the NFT. So that's on the supply side. On the user demand side, all you need is a phone, of like a phone number and a debit card. And it's just like buying something on Amazon. You go to the site, you put in your phone number, you get a code back, you put in your card, and you acquire it into a wallet that we set up that is two-factor enabled to both your email and your phone. It's like, wow, that's really should be all that it requires. And the last piece, because we believe in a future where there's more than just speculative trading on NFTs, is when that NFT is held in our wallet, we expose the utility for that NFT directly to the user. And so if it's redeeming for jewelry, or if it's redemption for physical art, or of a redemption for a token or a ticket. These are all things that can be done in the wallet without any technical or cryptocurrency knowledge at all done securely because we handle the back end.
Wow. I really like the credit card because, real NFT collectors will know this. Sometimes there's a drop, there's a drop and they sell. If you know if it's going to be a hot collection, it's going to sell out quick. You might not have the funds to be able to buy, let's say Friday, there's a mint and you're going to get paid on Monday. I think the credit card is going to unlock a lot for, a lot of big time NFT collectors that don't have access to capital. Um, when did it go ahead?
We've seen that already. And so for the number of collections that we've gone live with, especially those on XRPL, for a variety of reasons, you see a lot more credit card activity versus on-chain XRP activity, specifically talking about XRPL. I think that's for a couple of reasons. One is the reason you're talking about, for the dedicated collectors who've kind of put all their liquidity into various NFTs and, they got more paychecks coming. Another thing we've seen with folks who do have the infrastructure is, especially with what's going on in XRP with Ripple and the SEC, folks are waiting for that XRP to rip when the case comes out. And so it's like this it's like this lotto ticket that they're convinced is worth way more than the current price. Like, why would you spend that right now? Right? I'd rather spend dollars versus this thing that I know is more valuable than what it's trading at right now. And the third, which, who knows what is the biggest part of this, is folks who don't actually have the infrastructure, the wallet, the crypto, etc., who are just really excited about the NFT drop.
Right. Yeah, that's a big problem in the NFT space. A huge solution that you're bringing, but from my experience, there's so many cool collections, and when you go to try to explain a normal person how to basically get involved, it's almost like they get they don't even want to get involved. So I know a bunch of friends that are minting on there, and it's like this solution will be huge. So right now, I'm gonna pull up some data on the XRP ledger. There is 1.5 million NFTs minted right now with the current solutions and features. I think with products like Supermojo, we could see like an intense, like XRPL could become one of the biggest NFT chains out there. Are you already live on any marketplaces on the XRP ledger? Are you in contact with any marketplaces that want to integrate your solutions?
Yes. So we are talking to, or have deals signed with pretty much every marketplace that you're probably thinking of right now. Where we've gone live to start with is essentially creators who want to have their own page to go live with. An example of that is the Justin Bua mint that happened a number of months ago. The Wild Stags Treehouse is another group that's live. There's a bunch. I'm just going through in my head. Unchained Elephants is going live in a week or so, and the list goes on. So our primary goal has been on the minting. Secondary sales is something that we want to do and we have plans to do. The trickiness with secondary sales is how you deal with bad actors. And from a product perspective, that's what I'm working on right now. It's a little easier on mints, but on the secondary sales, somebody buys it, does something on the chargeback for the card, like you're in a little bit of trouble, right? Because you've acquired on chain, the card's gone, like you're out funds. And our experience is so great and so nice that I don't want to put negative hurdles in there for good actors to where they have to do things like show their passport and do all that stuff if you've ever tried to do a credit card transaction. So that's what I'm working through on the actual secondary sales to go live with marketplaces.
Oh, okay. So it still has some, we still have some before we start deploying this.
Well, on secondary markets, it's more of a business decision. The code's all there, the tech's all there. We're live with products right now. It's really understanding how you can create even a neutral business or ideally a profitable business while dealing with the potential bad actors that come along with credit card chargebacks.
True. So I first heard about you through I was on a Twitter space and I heard, Sologenic team wanting to collaborate with you guys, integrate this. I'm doing an interview with the On XRP guys in a couple weeks, and I heard they're interested. So yeah, I've heard that's basically how I found out about Super Mojo. Like doing my research into all these marketplaces because they're kind of a new thing on the XRP ledger. They haven't been around that long. And they're all talking about Supermojo, Supermojo. Like this is the key ingredient that they need to, because a lot of them I've heard there's basically no point to mass promote these marketplaces at this time because you're mass promoting to a bunch of people that won't even know how to use the tech. And they basically said once you guys are ready to deploy that they're going to take things to another level. What do you think the future of NFTs look like? I've heard it you in a few interviews. You don't even like the term NFTs. What do you think? What do you think the future of NFTs is going to look like? I'm a big music guy. I think music and NFTs are going to be super exciting. But what makes you bullish on NFTs? What do you think the future is going to look like?
Yeah. The first, I'll start with not liking the term NFT, which is true. And the reason is NFT is such a technical in-group term. Rewind this conversation like 30 years ago, and you'd be saying like, or people would be asking me, what is your idea for the future of the SMTP protocol and TCP/IP? And it's like, no. It's like, no, your grandma wants to send an email about a kitten. You know what I mean? She doesn't know she's integrating with some kind of like messaging protocol. She's using email. And so that's really what I think of when I think of NFTs. NFTs are just a technical vehicle that allows ownership of digital assets that are beyond just cryptocurrencies. That is amazing. That's incredible, right? Because for the first time in human history, you have a way of representing ownership on chain that applies to any assets, both digital or real world or real world. So what does that mean? Well, one, you have the creator side. So individuals actually putting things on chain and selling them. That could be kind of the collector market or the art market, which is a massive market in and of itself. But I think that actually and ultimately gets dwarfed by two other groups. Another group are actual brands. So brands are spending, upwards of $1 trillion. I mean, it's incredible the amount that they spend on marketing. And in many cases, it's just yelling into the void that is cost per click on Facebook or Google. They're so far away from their customers digitally that it's incredible. And the engagement really isn't there. Yet Google and Facebook are able to charge incredible amounts of money for access to these customers. The NFT as a vehicle is a way to drive customer engagement. It's a way to drive customer engagement because you have folks who own this asset that gives them some kind of rights or some kind of utility that actually unlocks something with a brand, whether that's digital experiences or physical merchandise. That's incredibly powerful for the brands because now they can actually interact directly with users, check engagement over time, drop additional value, test things, let them vote. Like, wow, that is very, very cool. The third thing are financial contracts. So the institutions and users who are actually putting financial instruments on chain so that they can be tradable 24/7 globally, and also very easy reconciliation in terms of actually doing payouts and things like that. And that's where you get into like financial instruments like bonds being issued on chain, which I think NFTs are actually a great vehicle for that, as you own specific clip amounts of that. Pretty much anything that isn't just a token, which I think we've explored to the fullest extent, kind of falls into this vehicle bucket that, today we call NFTs. And I really just call it as digital ownership.
Wow. So what type of do brands come to you for like suggestions? Are you having conversations with any companies directly? Like can you share any types of companies that come to you and ask you how to get involved? Is that some things that happen?
Yeah. So it's there's so many parallels to kind of my early days at Ripple, where you had financial institutions, major financial institutions, central banks even coming to Ripple saying, man, we've heard about this thing. Like, we think the implications are massive to our industry. What the heck is it? And what the heck is it? Gets to probably halfway through the meeting when they're done trying to fluff their own feathers that they actually know what's going on. What's great is that the corporates and these major brands are, I'd say, a little less stodgy, and so they're a little bit more open. And it immediately come to you and say like, hey, we think this can really drive the way that our customers engage with us and the way that we're able to engage with our customers. Here's some ideas that we have. Do these even make sense? What do you think? And so we are talking to multinational brands that all of your listeners will have known or used, who are very interested in doing things, on chain. And in many cases, they don't even know like what chain or where to start. And so some of this is like the early days of crypto, is you got to do a lot of education, but you start getting around that corner and talking about the possibilities. There's a lot of excitement there, and there's a lot of potential utility in the future. And, there's a lot
So
of
you
chains
guys are
that want that.
you guys are targeting Ethereum, Polygon, and XRP Ledger right now, right?
That's right.
And each of those chains kind of have unique utilities. Do you think do you think the future, like people won't even know what chain they're on? It's going to be all like interconnected in some way?
Yeah, I think for the most part, folks are not going to know what chain the asset is on. There's a lot that has to happen before that becomes a reality. But I think that the chains have different capabilities and different utilities that lend themselves better to different assets. The big differentiator today, besides usability, has to do with liquidity or depth in those markets due to retail users. But as soon as major corporations come on, and brands, and they bring their users with them, I think that liquidity moat starts to go away over time.
Right. Well, going back to the previous question, I asked that question because I've launched an NFT collection, and ever since I launched one, so many people asking me like, "What can you do with NFTs?" Like, they'll call me up, and they have their own company. They're trying to figure out, and this is just local, like small level people, not huge corporations. And they're asking me, they want to know how they could get involved, what they could do, and there's a it's like the early days of the internet, when we have this technology and people are still trying to figure out what to do with it.
Yep.
Really, we're like pioneering it. I have a friend, I wanted to show you this. He's got a tokenized skateboard on the XRP ledger. I've seen
Wait, turn it right side up. Turn it right
this
side up.
is
Let me see
a
it.
tribute to Gensler. It's called a Gare Bear. So like a lot of XRP fans don't know all the cool stuff happening in the marketplaces on the XRP ledger.
Mm-hmm.
There's people are being very creative, but I'm waiting to see. I saw all these news about potentially like Ducati coming to the XRP ledger, and Michael Jordan doing some NFTs potentially. Like, I'm excited to see when these big brands start coming to the ecosystems. It's going to be pretty wild. I know there's a lot of big stuff happening on Polygon. Starbucks is doing something there. The former president launched there, so it's wild right now. So let me go into the next question, because have you been noticing that there's been in the XRP ledger, like the actual native DEX usage, that more people are using the XRP ledger? And are you happy about this? And do you think that Super Mojo is going to help increase the adoption and usage of XRP ledger even more?
Yeah. So in terms of being happy about it, absolutely, absolutely. And one of the reasons I'm happy about it is, XRPL, and I don't think it gets credit for this, it's very, very early when it comes to the concept of being able to trade non-native assets on chain. That's really an incredible idea, right? The genesis was Bitcoin, and Bitcoin really, and they went through this concept of like colored coins, and they're still trying to work out ordinals and NFTs, but really Bitcoin is for Bitcoin. Before even the creation of Ethereum, XRP was allowing folks to issue assets, trade those assets via DEX. It's an incredible idea. It's foundational to what cryptocurrency is today. And so to see the beginnings of that adoption, at least to where I think it should be or where it could be in the future, is massive. And it's so important that you get that liquidity there today, because where I see the ledger going, another central bank just came out today about using a CDBC program on XRPL. You see these announcements starting to come out, right? And like eventually you have this financial platform, which is only a piece of what it can be used for. We talked about the other things earlier, but this financial platform that allows crossing between central bank tokens or maybe even commercial bank issued dollar tokens through XRP into NFTs representing financial instruments. the kind of dollar volume you're talking there sounds stupid, but it's not in trillions, it's in quadrillions.
You're talking
When
about derivatives, right?
you're talking about derivatives, you're talking about uh, financial contracts that include sovereign bonds, into and out of currencies with just actual FX trading that happens. Essentially all the money, right? And it'll probably won't all coalesce to a single chain, and that's why interoperability is so important and something that's been core to how Ripple's been building, or at least how I was building there. But the possibilities there are so mind-blowingly awesome. I just love seeing that little tick on DEX volume, as you mentioned, in the right direction, because that's what the future could be.
Yeah, man, I want to be 100% unbanked on the XRP ledger. I feel safe and secure. It's a lot of people don't know this. So you see this huge spike in trend of everybody talking about decentralized exchange, decentralized exchange. DEX is the future, but you guys were working on that. You guys are the first ever decentralized exchange. You guys are decentralized exchange, basically the granddaddy of them all. And you guys have been running so long, and there's so much credibility to it. And I bet it feels really good to see, NFTs coming. We know XLS thing. I think that's going to be, the icing on the cake. The XLS 30 is going to bring the liquidity and make the XRPA ledger so much more dynamic. And here's a question. So I was looking at the people backs your Super Mojo, as well as a bunch of other people, Draper Associates, Arrington Capital, Gemini. But you and your founder, so your founder has already had successful startups. I noticed that. So he's exited, been successful in the past. That's good. What's his name again?
His name is Amir Sarhangi.
Amir.
An incredible background.
He's incredible. And you guys both came from Ripple, and then you guys left Ripple to create Super Mojo. You would think that they'd be like, oh, we don't want to lose you guys, but they still have a good, are you guys still in a good relationship with Ripple? How's the relationship since both you guys left and now building this new product?
Yeah. Kind of funny. Ashish is someone I've always remained close to. He was my boss for a lot of time when I was at Ripple. I probably at his house more now than I was when I was at Ripple, believe it or not. So in terms of staying close to the people at Ripple, those are some of the relationships and the stuff that we went through in the early days when everybody said it was crazy and never going to work. Those are relationships that I don't think anything could break. Well, I can't say anything, but very hard to break these like fundamental, kind of like brothers in arms type relationships there. In terms of like with Ripple, the company, fantastic. We have a weekly cadence with them. They are an investor in us. We've done some really cool stuff together and some more really cool stuff coming out. So, couldn't be better there. We're huge fans of the Ledger, and we're huge fans of Ripple, and we're alumni, and, they take really good care of alumni. They're a great company.
So they really want to see you guys succeed. It really looks like that. And let me just make sure that my audience gets the real magic behind Super Mojo. So if I've been reading and trying to get understanding of the real magic behind Super Mojo, it's basically a fiat on-ramp, but it's able to access NFT markets, including the XRP ledger. It's basically like a payment gateway to XRP ledger and other blockchains, makes things really seamless.
That's right. Plus, and this is a key piece that I think is missing in the market today, is when you're dealing with NFTs or crypto assets in general, just being able to pay with a card isn't enough. That's not a complete user experience. The complete user experience is paying with a card and then having a place for that NFT to go without requiring a wallet. And then once you have that NFT within a wallet that Supermojo provides, you can either withdraw it, or this is another key piece, you can actually use it. And so we see a world where things are going beyond just JPEGs, and things are either redeemable or usable for access, or any number of activities that you can actually do with digital ownership. And you can do that all through our platform. So it's buying, it's holding, and it's using.
That was the original vision of the XRP ledger, to have these IOU tokens on there that could be exchanged. So that's pretty exciting, man.
That's a throwback. IOUs is a throwback, man.
Yeah,
that's
the IOUs.
Yeah, that's old school.
People are doing that with NFTs. You remember the X-Punks? You had the IOU token, you redeemed an NFT for it. Yep. People are gonna get really creative. I think like the next generation of kids are gonna take these ideas to like we can't even imagine. Last question on Super Mojo. So like what can we expect as NFT fans, people excited to see XRPL marketplaces get these solutions so we can get more friends involved into these communities. What is the roadmap for the rest of 2023, 2024 for Super Mojo?
Yeah, so starting out on XRPL, you can see a lot more projects going live with their mints on Supermojo to be able to acquire those with a card. In terms of getting other people involved in the space, this is easy enough where if somebody knows how to make a purchase on Amazon, they can make a purchase on XRPL. So now you can finally tell your friends and family or people that you want to get involved who you don't want to spend like 2.5 hours setting up a wallet, setting up an exchange account, doing all that stuff. You can tell them now you can use Supermojo to actually acquire an XRPL NFT for the first time. So that's going to continue to come out this year. We've got another like great lineup of projects that have actual utility associated with them. Some that are fundamental to ecosystems within XRPL, some that are fundamental to ecosystems in Ethereum as well. And so there'll be a couple big announcements over the next couple months of just making these things as accessible and easy to buy, hold, and most importantly, and this is where I think we're different, actually use them within the experience. And so you're going to be seeing a lot of that over the next couple months.
So when people sign up for their Super Mojo account and they're buying an NFT, whether it's on Ethereum, Polygon, it's going to be on the Super Mojo platform. And in this situation, you'd only have like a password, email, basically to log in. And then to get extra security, you'll want to withdraw it into your, native crypto wallet when time comes. Is that how it all works?
Yeah, so you don't have to out of band set up a Supermojo account. It's really simple in that the first time you do a purchase, we set up the account for you. Doesn't take any extra steps. The second time you do a purchase, we already have your information and your checkout becomes a one-click checkout.
Wow, one click.
Yeah. It's like just boom, you want to buy it. We save your card information if you're comfortable with that. You have the option, but if you save that information, that is just a one-click purchase experience, which is kind of unheard of in the NFT space. In terms of what you want to do with the NFT, you're definitely free to withdraw it. And I will say I've gone through cycles in my life of being incredibly hardcore self-custody and then leaning towards, well, there are merits to centralized custody. And so what I see today is there's been a lot of blowups of firms who actually have custody of assets, and they're really high profile, and you have hundreds of millions of dollars locked. I still think, though, and this might be controversial, if you sum up the amount of money lost, both through user error and from folks losing your keys, I bet non-custodial has actually lost more money for users than custodial wallets. And just one example of that is I can mention this because there was a New York Times article about it. Stefan Thomas, the former CTO of Ripple. You know the story.
Nightmare.
Now think about that, right? He didn't get hacked, right? So that Bitcoin is so safe, right? It's so safe. It's so safe that he can't even touch it, right? That would not have happened holding that on Coinbase. And so I used to be, man, you're crazy if you use Coinbase for actual custody. But now, after seeing so many horror stories, for the majority of users, maybe not you as a power user, you're probably better off using custody.
And when you're talking about Stefan Thomas, that was thousands of Bitcoin, not one or two Bitcoin, right? It was a couple thousand Bitcoin, right?
It's mentioned in the it's mentioned what the actual number was in the New York Times article. You're looking at, I want to say, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, it was big.
Something like that. Yeah. Like definitely an ouchie, right? Yeah, and that's the downside. Like there's no help desk when you mess up on the non-custodial stuff.
I know too, because I've helped a lot of people on board into crypto, including my grandmother, and they go to get a new phone without telling you, and they have their crypto wallet on the old phone. They lose it. You tell them, where's the private keys? I didn't know I had to keep the private keys. It's happened to me so many times. So I understand now. It's like there's a yin and yang. There's a time for the centralized custody. And that's awesome that you guys are going to provide that, because the normal average day person is going to need that. And they don't care about, honestly, a lot of problem with crypto people is we give the new people too much information. If we could just dumb it down a little bit, it'll be easier for them to get on board, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is awesome. So you're also, I wanted to shift gears real quick because rarely do I ever have a chance to talk to a true life expert. And I've been following, you know, XRP, Ripple for a very long time. And we hear about all these amazing solutions that they're bringing to, you know, the payments system and the payments with XRAP. So I had this question for you. We hear these buzzwords, you know, they have all these products from XRapid, XCurrent, XVIA, and we know that Ripple has basically morphed them all into one for their customers. For a new, what are all these solutions doing, and like what powerful solutions are like we're to payments with these products that they've been developing the past 10 years?
Yeah. I think the best way to understand that is to actually to actually go over the journey of building those products from the inside. And it really all started with XCurrent. XCurrent was built. This is what I started to work on. It was called by a different name at the time, but it was really what I started working on in 2015. And it was designed as a way to solve some of the problems that plague cross-border payments. The primary problems that it was trying to solve was standardization of communication methods between the bank messaging, because there's a ton of messaging. It's not just sending money. There's a ton of messaging and regulation that is required of a payment. In many cases, the movement of money is like the tip of the iceberg, and all this compliance stuff behind it is how these banks communicate. And there wasn't a great way to do that. It was called Swift, or sending a wire, right? Which got its name from literally like sending something over the telegraph from Western Union. So that was really the first product that was built. It was built on top of the IOU system that you were talking about. There wasn't enough in many cases liquidity to be able to do like XRP payments for like these banks who want to move like $1 billion all at once. And so that was the first step, and we got a lot of great traction there. Then there came an opportunity to offer that same capability to non-mega institutions who needed a more lightweight experience, also corporates. And that was really the birth of XVIA. It was kind of like an XCurrent light. And then like the final and what the vision was always about was XRapid was now a way to actually not just change the messaging, but insert that into both products to allow the movement of value over XRP versus just coordinating bank ledgers. And that was the process between that, always built in a way where these things were actually the same experience, just kind of like different options, right? The full version of messaging or the light version of messaging. And then do you want just fiat transactions, or do you want XRapid? This was all creating a network, Ripple's network of financial institutions, which is why all those products today are called RippleNet. Just kind of like in a way, VisaNet has a bunch of different things that it can do based on what its institutions need to use. It's exactly what RippleNet is. And banks can use the messaging, they can use fiat, or they can use XRP if they want instantaneous payments anywhere in the world without pre-funding, which is such a cool innovation that only crypto can do.
XRapid was the terminology for on-demand liquidity, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So RippleNet has all these different products all baked into it and offers solutions for, you know, the biggest banks, also smaller banks. And wow, okay, that's a great explanation. That's the first time I heard it explained so smooth.
Yeah. Well, it helps when you were there for 7 years and you saw the thing evolve itself.
Yeah, man.
Last thing I'll add that I think is so cool and maybe sometimes is overlooked is in all these products, you have the ability of always upselling, right? Or providing better experiences to customers, which in many times, like, why would a customer not want instantaneous, cheaper cross-border payments on XRP? Like, there's no reason not to want that unless you bring in regulation and fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And so, you have a lot of institutions actually using RippleNet for the messaging piece, as soon as you get to a point where they don't have that fear, uncertainty, and doubt, primarily through regulatory means, it's very, very simple to now turn on the ability of actually making those transactions over XRP for a better use case. And that, I think, is the genius and what I get most excited about when you get all this, when you get all this BS that's happening in the United States behind us, the ability of turning on these customers quickly to a better way of payments using ODL because they're already integrated. That's excited. And that's like, they're seeing crazy growth. You can look at the quarterly reports. I mean, that's where, you get that hockey stick type growth.
So that's the number one hurdle that you were experiencing, huh? Just the non having the regulation framework in the United States.
Yeah, I'd say that's the number one. That's number one now. Like,
So
early days 2000.
when you went to go do your presentations and you pitched this product, everybody was like, wow, this is amazing, but there's no framework here in the United States, so we can't take the next steps. Is that kind of how it happened?
It took a while to get there, but that was, I think it was 2021, I think it was when I left. That's what it had turned it out to be. You can imagine like conversations in 2015 were a lot different from conversations in 2021. And in 2021, it's like, yeah, we get it. We understand the premise. Oh my gosh, you're telling I can have I can remove all this cash that I have to have in Nostro accounts, especially, I wasn't there for this, but especially in this interest rate environment, because back then it was zero rates, right? Forever. So like there is a cost of capital in terms of you holding funds elsewhere in these bank accounts to be prepared for your payments. But now you got a 5% overnight rate. You're losing millions on millions of dollars if you're not able to repatriate these funds, even if you don't have anything to do with them. So that is a huge tailwind to using a non-pre-funded asset like blockchain tech and specifically XRP. So I imagine it's even easier now than when I left.
So let's get into this because we just had some news break. The Hinman emails came out. You haven't shared your thoughts yet on, what's been discovered from this. So what are your thoughts on the Hinman emails?
Yeah. Just I am such a proud American. I really am. I really am. For many reasons, I love this country, and my family has a history of that, of fighting for this country. It hurts to see some of the behavior of regulators, and what I see them doing in the United States in things that unfortunately don't look like it's in the best interest of the people. It's hard. It's disappointing at a personal level.
Well, to take things deeper, there was just some new news that came out today about this random project called Prometheum, something like that, Pro Ethereum. And they had some, SEC favored them. And you look at their investor lists and it connects all the way back to like CCP, China. And this is what Brad has been warning about for years now. It's like they're favoring other countries innovation rather than American innovation. Ripple is American from San Francisco. Have you looked into that whole the new news that broke this morning with that Kaplan character that was speaking at the recent Congress hearing?
Yeah, I've seen I've seen the threads on Twitter. It's every 5 minutes some new bombshell has been breaking of like, oh, they have ties to CCP, or oh, the financial backers are the same people who were, in charge of Long Island iced tea that turned their name to blockchain, and they got halted by the SEC. And they had SEC people on the board, and they have no product or haven't had a product ever. I thought so I haven't confirmed any of this, but I remember watching the actual testimony happening and finding it so odd how questions were being lobbed at that guy, and he had like perfect party line answers that mimicked some of the same questions that were being asked, and things totally foreign to anything he works on. And that's the note passing, and that's what the first time I was like, whoa, this is kind of weird. And it was like 10 minutes after that some of the stuff got broken, which brings me to kind of my uber point of this. How could you possibly think that you could get away with bringing someone like that on without the internet finding out about it. Like, and here's the thing, all the stuff that is crazy, it's all public. We don't even know the private stuff yet, right? I know there's a Freedom of Information Act that got passed immediately. Like, what the heck happened here? What are the conversations given to us? Be interesting how they respond to that. But my uber point is, I don't think they knew that crypto Twitter was going to find this stuff out. I'm worried that maybe the folks pulling the strings behind the scenes don't really know how the internet works. You know, that's like putting the company aside.
But that was real. I seen a picture of him like handing a note back. He really did that on like XRP production, that meme account, put a picture of him next to the bad guy from Cobra Kai. He looks identical. If you watch Cobra Kai, it's like straight out of a movie. This guy just pops up out of nowhere. And you're right, he did. I actually tuned in. I listened to about 5 minutes, and the whole 5 minutes I listened to was him. I had to turn it off. I didn't realize I woke up to like just different Twitter threads. And, I think crypto Twitter, if you're still involved in crypto Twitter during this time in the market, you're a little crazy. Like we got nothing but time to research, we're in a bear market. There's nothing else to do. So yeah, they picked the wrong time, they picked the wrong industry, and there's probably going to be more digital asset investor were just dropping bombs left and right about this character.
Yeah, I saw that. Now, I will also say, if I rewind how I thought about this 3 years ago, it was really my hope that this would be a non-partisan issue. And because this is an innovative technology that is not inherently right-wing or left-wing. In fact, when I think about kind of the trajectory of left-wing politics and folks like Elizabeth Warren, I mean, this is amazing to her cause. She's always been anti-big bank, right? That's always been her positioning on it. And I think there's a lot of credibility in that argument. For the first time, you actually have an alternative to those big banks. For the first time, you have an actual challenge to too big to fail, right? And for it to be turned into this political issue now where it's Republicans versus Democrats, that's a shame. That's a shame.
It would support their cause, but their big backers probably want to buy these assets cheap, in my opinion. They're trying to create FUD, so retail sales, and they keep scooping up. So, you know what else is a big narrative? Like we even heard Janet Yellen say it just the other day. She's saying that, and I love America too, and it's sad to see this, that they're saying, we could see a decline in the dollar as a reserve currency. And a lot of it, I think people are losing trust in America. They see the clown show happening. And other countries are coming out saying, like, I think Nigeria just came out. One country in Africa just said, why are we trading in dollars? So what are your thoughts on, crypto being an alternative solution? Do you think XRP specifically could be a good solution, or Bitcoin as a good alternative to the dollar as a reserve currency? Do you see that playing out in our lifetime?
So first off, why is the dollar losing its reserve currency status? It's two reasons. One is because it doesn't matter if you're conservative or liberal. It doesn't matter who you vote for. Whoever's in power is going to print an infinite amount of money. There doesn't seem to be a political solution to that. So you're going down a path where the dollar is being debased. All these other countries that currencies are pegged to or dependent on the dollar for trade are getting debased even worse than the dollar. That's an incredible thing that we as citizens enjoy. And it is because of the sacrifices that we made during World War II. That's how we've gotten to this position. But that printing it is beginning to squander. Like we've pushed it too far, right? And we continue to push it too far, and we will continue to do so. That's one. The second is that we've weaponized the dollar without getting into the political reasonings, right or wrong for this. Our ability to go and say, hey, even though we have no, potential dog in this fight, we're going to seize all assets. We're going to seize all US dollar assets from another central bank because we disagree with that country's actions. That is incredibly gnarly, right? And if you are a central bank, even if you're an ally like France, you cannot give up your sovereignty to someone that's not you. And so those two reasons are why people are moving away from the dollar. Well, where else do they move? It's kind of tough. Like you go from one evil to the other, like you go to China for that, right? Like it's tough. So I hope in the future, with as little human suffering as possible, that you're able to move away from human beings and move to something that you can trust, mathematics and physics, right? That is the essence behind these digital assets. When I talked about earlier, these central banks having tokens on chain that can be crossed through XRP as a means of liquidity, that is essentially a replacement of the dollar as a reserve currency. That's using XRP as a bridge asset between fiat currencies. Is that possible in our lifetimes? I think it is, but I say this a lot. People who cheer for the US dollar to lose its reserve currency status, I don't think they realize the kind of substantial human pain and suffering that we would have to go through for that to happen. Meaning that central banks, we're no different. Central banks will push governments to roll tanks in the streets before they lose that status. And so in order to get there, you're probably looking at like some kind of global conflict that establishes a new monetary base, just like what we saw in World War II.
What happened then? That was when the Bretton Woods agreement happened during World War
Yeah.
II, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great story. Forgetting the millions of deaths. It's a great story in terms of like post World War II. We had exported everything, right? Because we were a builder of military stuff. I guess we still are. We export a lot of it, but we're sending all this stuff, and the whole world had been destroyed except the United States. We had all the gold, so it's like, hey, base your currencies off us, and we'll back the dollar with gold because we have so much of it. That worked out great. Then we decided to invade Vietnam, spent a lot of money there, and Nixon was like, hey, actually, you know what? We're no longer backed by gold. That was a default, right? We don't call that was a default, right? That was the first step of us kind of taking over this ability to enact what is called seigniorage, or the ability of printing money on a global scale. Fast forward 50 years, we're still printing money like crazy, and now just the world's starting to say, hey, maybe we need something different.
Well, we got the technology here, and there is storylines and narratives that could potentially lead us to that global conflict, China, Taiwan, and a bunch of other craziness going on. So
yeah, hope not.
One of the things that's one of the things that got me involved in XRP way back. I saw a video of Brad talking about, the end game could potentially be XRP being, a new reserve currency. And a lot of people in the XRP community still show that clip to today. So I want to ask you that question. And one more funny question that so many people speculate on. Have you ever met Arthur Brito before? Have you ever shook his hand? Is he a real person? I heard all types of theories because he's like a ghost online.
Yes, I know Arthur pretty well.
We could leave it at that. So I want to talk to you. You're a crypto veteran. There's a lot of different type of people watching this. All of us are experiencing a bear market. What wisdom can you share? You've been through multiple cycles. If you've been in crypto since 2014, you've seen ups and downs. What wisdom can you share with someone going through their first crypto bear market?
Yeah. So how many times have you and I on this chat talked about the price?
Zero.
Not once.
Not once.
Not once. So if they're listening to your podcast, they're probably on the right track. And what I mean by that is, if you are just here for price speculation, I honestly, I don't know what to tell you there. It might go back up, it might not. The folks who are here because they see this as a technology that can fundamentally improve the human experience, and I mean that, fundamentally improve the human experience. Doesn't matter if the price is down, doesn't matter if the price is up. You're here because you're trying to build a better world. And that's why I've been able to get through when people call it bear markets, or when people call it even the bull markets and all the craziness and BS that goes on. If you're focused on doing what you can to use this technology to better things, you won't get washed out. If Bitcoin goes down or XRP goes down or up, don't let that get you down. Just keep building for what you believe in your soul to be true.
Well, let me ask you this one last question. This is going to be a deeper question because I could feel your energy and I could feel something bigger, that like a bigger force uh, behind you that pushes you. And I don't know if it's related to the 2008 crash. Could be. You experienced the 2008 crash. I experienced the 2008 crash. My family's home got foreclosed, very painful, which caused me to go down rabbit holes to learn about the financial system, how we got screwed. I got screwed big time then, and you know, to be able to go through multiple bear markets like this, like you have, and like I'm doing, there's something bigger driving us. So, what is it about decentralized systems that like makes you so passionate about being in this industry? What's the driving force that keeps you going each and every single day to see a change in this financial system, to go from a centralized world to a more decentralized world where people have more options and become more sovereign is a word that I like to use.
Great question. Decentralization is just a feature. The user benefit from that feature is freedom. At its most core is freedom. All decentralized means is that a single party or a state actor or a corporation or government or an upset corporate or an upset friend, they can't keep you from accessing what's rightfully yours. That's your value and what you want to do with it. There's no other system that's ever existed on Earth where you could do that globally and instantaneously. And so it's that foundational piece of freedom to the individual, regardless of anything that makes you up, regardless of gender, race, religion, etc. You have unfettered access to your value. And that to me is the core of freedom. It's the core of what America was built on. And it's something that I will jump out of the bed every single morning, regardless of what the price is, to build on that.
Nice, man. That was beautifully said, and I like that freedom. I really believe this industry creates freedom, opportunities. Has changed my life. I've seen it change so many other people's lives, and it gives people hope. It gives people hope. So thank you so much. You spent a whole hour with me today. I know you're a busy guy. You got lots of things going, and I'm excited to see you change the game for the XRPL marketplaces. I'm personally motivated to see you achieve those goals, and you're welcome back anytime. If you want to do a Twitter space or a YouTube video, would love to have you. And would you like to plug anything else in before we end this stream?
America.
Go America. All right, everybody. Have an awesome day and peace.